Hello everyone, welcome to today's presentation. Wherever you are around the world, I hope you are well and safe. I'm Nigel Watts and I'm the Managing Director of Prota Software. I'm actually working from home at present. We have just gone back into lockdown here in Malaysia as our colleagues in other parts of the world, in Turkey. We're also working largely from home at present. So, and I hope wherever you are around the world that you are safe and enjoying what you're doing. Obviously, we hope in the near future that we'll be back to doing things that we love. And talking about doing things that we love, I'm really privileged today to take you through ProtaStructure 2021 and also to touching on some of the recent updates that we've been issuing out as we've been progressing development over the course of the last 4 or 5 months or so. So I'll leave my camera on just for a little bit longer, and I'm just going to talk you through a few things. What I was wanting to talk to you about today is actually the latest update, which is 2021.1, we'll call it. If you're using the software, you'll notice that there's a build 5.1.25 now. You're probably going to ask us, what does that mean? Well, it's actually the 5th generation release from the first introduction of ProtaStructure back in 2015. So this is the 5th major release of the platform, and the subsequent numbers mean the build, the revision. So instead of service packs, we're now using, say, 0.1 as a dedicator. So it really is 2021.1, and then 25 is the build, is the latest production build. Okay. Now, if you are using the software just to get yourself up to date with the latest version, please, from the start page, you'll notice that there's some notifications here, and you can see it will prompt you to update your system, and you can just click on the button. It will download the update and automatically update your platform to the latest build. Okay, so it's all seamless, it's all automated, and you can get up and running. So you can do that from the start notifications, or if you own the platform, you can also check for updates. And if you just go to help and check updates, it will then check if you're using the latest build. If you're not, it will then prompt you to download and update your system, and that happens in a seamless way. There's also a separate update to ProtaSteel 2021. You can download this separately if you wish. You can also download through that link a complete fresh installation if you wish to start from scratch. Okay, so if you're an existing user, that's the way we get up and running. Now, existing users may also be interested to know that there is a beta channel. And what do we mean by the beta channel? Well, you can access more up-to-date builds through this channel. So within the ProtaStructure environment under the settings, you can choose to receive advanced betas. And these are where we push out updates that perhaps we have not completed testing on, but may include new features or functionality that you may feel are useful to you. So at the moment, 5.1.25 is the latest production build, and 5.1.46 is the latest beta we are testing. And we will periodically update the production builds and the betas. Now, the beta can be useful, particularly if there's been an update that's important to you that you need to help with your project. Support may direct you to this area, and that may solve any issues that you are facing. But do note that these are not finally tested versions, but do allow us to deploy specific fixes when we can. Now, you can roll back to an earlier release. You just uninstall and you can reinstall the software, and you'll be back to the latest production build. Okay, so that's just some background on for existing users and into getting up and running. Now, today's webinar, what's new in ProtaStructure 2021.1? Well, there's a lot of enhancements, and in fact, if I just minimize my screen for a bit, and I will pull out a document, there is a complete what's new document that you can download with all the release notes for this build, and I think there's about 40 pages of information there just to covering some of what we've been up to over the last few months. Okay, so you're welcome to download this, and this will give you more guidance in terms of what's new. What I would say is that you can refer to that. There's also additional guidance that you will see. You'll also see additional guidance within the Knowledge Hub. So if you're wanting more information on what's new, refer to the Knowledge Hub as well. There's also, we're increasingly introducing short videos to explain new features as well as the contextual help, where you can watch short videos on various features that we have within the software. So if I had to summarize it, what are the top new features of ProtaStructure 2021? I'm just going to do this quickly because I want to get into the software and start showing you. We've done a lot of work on merged wall containment design and detailing, and I'm going to take you through that shortly. We have enhanced the flexibility that we have around creating trusses, not just trusses, but modeling in general. So there's an enhanced truss editor. We've introduced new cases and combinations covering additional load cases requirements for code. So if you're in colder regions in Europe, you'll be keen to know that snow loading is now included. If you're in high rainfall areas, rain loading. And if you want to just look at assessment of roof live load cases independently and assess those based on the code-based equations just for the roof considerations, and they're also now part of the code updates. So these affect both the American codes as well as the European codes, and you'll see that when you generate these in the new version, they'll be available. You're going to see that we're streamlining this. We've been working on enhancing the pace, the speed, and of the system as we fine tune it. You'll see that it's getting quicker, and there's lots of little modeling enhancements and tweaks that we've also introduced as we start to continue to develop the underlying platform and technology. Now, on the ProtaSteel side, we've got some new connection macros and enhanced the grouping of the elements. So the group connection design and so on, which has been enhanced, and I'll show you that in a minute. So there's quite a bit to cover. I'm going to try and cover it in the way of just building up a simple model, and I'll cover some new things as well as maybe some things you don't know. Maybe if you're an existing user, and maybe if you're new to the software, I'm also just going to cover the basics. So everybody should be able to get something out of today's presentation. So without further ado, let's get into it, and I'm going to get into the system and let's get moving. Okay, so I'm just going to launch the software here, and when it loads here, you'll see that there's a start screen, and you can see that the build I'm using is build 5.1.25. And for those of you who are new to ProtaStructure or have not seen the 2021 build for, this is our brand new welcome screen. So in the welcome screen, you can see projects that you may have done previously. There's news from us, so you can get updated on some of the recent developments from us, as well as videos. And the notification screen that I was alluding to earlier, where you can see what new updates there are, things like where the release notes are, other updates are documented here. Now, if you're a user, get into the, take advantage of the resources here, the What's New documentation, the Help Center, you can get direct access to from here, as well as getting started documentation if you're a brand new user. Now, I'm just going to start a new project, and I'm going to give it a name. So let's just call it, traditionally what I do is I tend to pick on different codes around the world when I'm doing these presentations. And today I've decided to pick on Thailand. We've been growing our market in Thailand quite aggressively over the last year or so, and we have included some of the new Thai codes. They're based off the American codes, so if you're familiar with the American codes, this will also be of interest. I'm just going to give it a name, so let's just call it Thailand 2021, and we can choose a template here. Now, you'll notice that there's other templates, and these templates are fully customizable. There's a growing range of templates that are dedicated to different markets around the world that cover the typical design and detailing settings that you would find within those markets. So if you find yourself doing work in other countries apart from your home country, you could grab one of those templates and it will then set things up to suit the way that things are typically done in those countries. Now, I can start modeling in different ways, and I have shown in earlier webinars where you can import IFC data, you can bring in DXF imports, you can even import Revit models to get up and running. Today, I'm just going to, in the interest of time, I'm just going to start building simple models from scratch. Okay, and to do that, you'll see that I'm just going to logically work my way through. So here's, I was in the building setup tab, and you can start at this point if you wish. I can start modeling from scratch here with the modeling tab, and I'm going to work my way through from left to right here, loadings, review, analysis, design, and then we'll get into the drawings and documentation as well as into BIM. So in the modeling tab here, I can work in different ways. I'm going to build up some basic grid line arrangements here. You can come in and import grid lines if you have them in a CAD file, okay, just to help you with set out. You can key grid line arrangements in here, which is what I'm doing, okay, and I'll just give it a, let's just key a few more in, and you can just see it's very straightforward. You just key in the spacing of the axes, and then the grid lines will be created. So if I hit OK, they're then set up. Now the grid lines are very, very flexible, and we use the grid lines to help us with set out. So if you want to do things like offset axes, offset a grid line and create an additional grid line, it's easy to do. And you'll see there that there's a length attached to this axis, and you can manipulate this. So if I wanted to offset a grid line another 1500 away, I can do that. But then it then carries on. If you wanted to continue to offset, you could. Okay, these grid lines are flexible, so I can work with this. So if I'd like to, for example, stretch the grid line and bring it in, maybe I want to reposition that. If I want to change the grid line, and maybe I want to change it so that I only have the bubble on one side, okay, and I want to tidy up this for detailing, I can. Think of this as if we're going to be creating a key plan, and I'm just going to work with these grid lines just to manipulate them to suit. Okay, so I might have another grid line here, and again, I'm going to just change the properties here, and I'm going to just have that on one side, for example. Now, the grid lines can be further manipulated. If I want to at this point, maybe I'd like to rotate a grid line axis. I can choose a point about which I want to rotate, and you can see there that I can rotate this axis in any direction I like. Okay, so if I wanted to manipulate the axes, then I could come and do that in here. And again, if I hit F2, I could key in an angle that I want to manipulate that to, and then if I hit enter, then that grid line's then been adjusted. Now, there's other ways that you can work with the grid lines. If you have an existing grid line, and maybe this grid line I want to change it, perhaps instead of it being straight, I'd like it to be curved. So again, you can just come in and choose some reference points there, and then you can come in and feed in the grid line. And again, you can key in maybe an arc just to define this, and then you can create that. Now, other ways you can work with axes is by having what we call linked axes or merged axes. So here I can just come in and create a grid line, and that grid line can shoot and virtually go anywhere I like. So if I've got a very unusual setup, I can create whatever grid line I like, and you can see I've got a linked axis there. Now I can start to work with these to help create my geometry. And the first thing I might wish to do is just place some columns. Now, we're working with physical objects, but there's some tricks in terms of the way you can model in here. So if I want to orientate that column along that grid line, I can choose one, which in this case is X, and that will then be positioned to be orientated along the X, along that direction. If I've got lots of columns, I can box around to place them. If I wish to reorientate columns other ways, then I can come in and do that as well. So let's just come in and create some columns along the curvature of that grid, and then they're set up here. Okay. Now you have libraries of standard shapes, so whether it's concrete, steel, built-up sections, cold form sections, we've got ever-expanding libraries of databases of sections here, and you can choose from a range of different sectional databases here that you can pick up. So if I wanted to use, say, a concrete section, I can key that in and I can play that here. Now you can manipulate individually properties for various elements. So if you were doing an existing building and you're retrofitting, you can come in here and change properties for every single element within the building. You don't have to use generic defaults for so columns and beams, you can come and specifically set up properties to suit. So I can choose some columns there, and let's just place some columns. Now, now I want to get to the to setting up some walls, and I'm going to just play with the grid lines a little bit more. I'm just going to offset an axis, and I'm going to use this just to help me because I want to set out a wall, and I'm just going to offset a grid to this point. Okay, and I'm going to take this grid line, and I'm going to just stretch this and bring it in. So again, you've got the ability to be able to work with axes and bring them in, reposition them, and place them however you like. So I'm just going to stretch this, and I'm going to bring this in as well, and I'm going to use this grid line just to help me as a set out point. Oops, let me do that again. Stretch that. There we go. That's in. Okay. Oh, a little bit further. Okay. So you can see it's easy. It's just right click, and then you can come in and do whatever you like. So I'm going to offset this again, and offset next season. This time around, I'm going to drop this 1500. Okay, and if I just hit enter, you'll see that another grid line's been created there. Okay, so you're probably wondering what I'm getting up to here. Well, what I wanted to do was start to model some walls, and what I'm going to create in here is a lift core. So I can place a lift core in here, and I can use this lift core to quickly build out a shape. So it could be something very unusual, like this. Well, standard or unusual. I've got a flange there on this lift core. You can use the grid lines and use this to help you set these out. Now, in this situation here, traditionally, these would have been designed as independent wall panels, okay? And traditionally, they would have also been detailed as individual wall panels. What we've done with the 2021 version of Prota, and particularly in this update, is we've allowed you to select these wall panels and then merge them. So this has now become one single element. And once I've got this single element here, I can then move into the Polyline wall editor. So you can see it in the menu on the top here. If you hit the Polyline wall editor, it will then open up a new Polyline wall editor. Now, this wall editor allows you to basically adapt and create reinforcement exactly the way you want it to be designed in detail. So for any shape that you may have, you can use this. And an example of this here is that I may wish to insert a end zone link. And I can come in and let me just choose an end zone link, and I can choose the length of my end zones. I can click on this. We can play with the end zones, so you can come and click and put in a distance here. Okay, so maybe you want it at 500, or maybe you want it as a percentage. Okay, maybe it's set as a percentage based on code. Okay, you can then set these up. Now you can introduce additional longitudinal bars here, and you can play with how they may be set. Okay, it'll also tell you the percentage of steel based on a 16mm bar that's in each of those end zones. And again, obviously there are code limits in here that you can just use this as a guide. If I hit OK, it'll then set these up. So you can see the software has now provided those two end zones. Now, if I go back to this again, I can put in another link, and you can see I've added one more link that goes around the whole cage there. And I can then, if I wish to, start to draw out and place additional web bars. So I can use ProtaStructure to basically come in here, and I can set up and create any type of wall template or configuration for detailing. Okay, so that's one way within which we can work with this, and this is a way in which manually you can manipulate the way in which the walls are detailed and set these up to suit. I can delete these, and you can then ask it to try and automate a lot of this process. So I can come in and ask it to automatically find the end zones there, and I can also ask it to automatically insert corner bars within these end zones. So you can see here, this whole wall arrangement, it's intelligently come in and set these up for me, okay? And then I can then start to play with these. I could, as I showed you earlier, I could come in and insert some additional bars in here. Okay, I could come and do that. I can, if I wish to, place other reinforcement. If I wish to have tighter end zones in here, these can be manipulated as well. You can add in additional ties. You can even add in additional bars if you wish. So it's very flexible, and you can just come and adapt this to suit whatever it is that you like. So you can, again, you can just work with this to manipulate things to suit your core wall design. Now, what other scenarios might we face? Well, I'm just going to merge these, and I'm going to show you one other way in which we can work with this, and I'm just going to manipulate the model. So I may have a shape, a standard core wall shape like this, and again, if I select that shape and I merge it, and we go back to our Polyline wall editor, we now can come in and automatically contain this. Now, what we're doing is we're adding more and more different scenarios which we will just fully automatically contain. And in here, we can come and do this. So I can reset the bar counts here. I can play with the depth of my end zones. Maybe it's 10% of the length. And if I hit OK, then it's automatically providing full containment, which is then being used for design that entire wall system, okay? Now, when it does the design, it will go through and optimize the bars, but then let's just come and use this and automatically set up and created all that wall containment there. So if I hit OK, that wall's done, okay? I can carry on with my modeling at this point, and I can then add in some other walls. So let me just do that again. We can just come in and place a, let's go back, place a wall. It's not, let me put in another column, names, walls. Okay, but so if I just come in and place that wall, you can, another one there, maybe we've got another one across here as well. Okay, so we can just quickly come in and set that up. So you can see I've got the basis of my layout here. Let's put some beams in. So I'm going to key in a 650 bit wide beam, and you can put beams in just by clicking between column and wall insertion points. You can just box around to put the beams in. So if I want to put them along there, or maybe along the curvature of that grid, you can snap between points. If you've got a continuous grid line, it can even follow the profile of that. You can snap between columns. You can also come in and easily create a curved grid line. So here you can see I've just come and quickly created those. Now, if you've got lots of elements in an area, you don't need to worry. You can just box around and they'll be automatically created. We'll automatically split the beams. You don't have to worry about overlapping. So here I'm just modeling through and putting in those additional concrete beams. They're just being placed here. Now, you can key in and create secondary members, and they can just be modified here to suit. Okay, and they can be easily set up here. So, so you can see there I've just done that, or I can undo. It's up to you. These can be manipulated. You can move members around to suit. All the geometry here can be adjusted and adapted to suit how you want to lay things out. And you can use your control key to select multiple elements, whether it's columns or beams. These can just be adapted to suit your layout. Now, if you're wanting to, at this point, place slabs, there is a quick trick for putting in slabs rapidly. If you've got a slab that's 200 thick, and in this case, I've got a dead load that's maybe 100 kilograms per square meter. If I'm not sure about live loadings, there's tables here that link to the code, and you can come and choose loading from this. Okay, so you can come and choose appropriate loading for the building that you're working with. Okay, and if you just hit insert slabs automatically, it will then blanket insert all the slabs within that region. So you can see all the slabs are now being set up with those properties. You can come in and manipulate this. Of course, I would like to remove the slabs at the core there. And I can come in and make changes to the property of individual slabs here. So loading and so on, I can then manipulate this. If I wanted to change the load types, that can be done here. If I want to maybe change my superimposed dead load, they can be updated. Now you can do that just by selecting an individual slab like that. If you want to change a lot of slabs in one go, it's easy to do. You can just select the elements that you want to manipulate, right click on the elements. You can go to member tables, and you'll see that things can be tabularized, whether it's beam, slabs, and so on. And you can come in here and just edit things on the fly. So if I wanted to change the live load to a prescribed value, I can choose from the code, or I could just key the value in. I can just do that. If I wanted to change the dead load, again, I could just come in and manipulate the values here to suit. Okay, so it's easy just to come in and edit things in here. I could change the thicknesses and so on. it's very easy to do, and that's just automatically updated in the model. So you can see here that I've created a key plan, and I can then start to work with this. So let's have a look at this in 3D. I've been working so far in 2D, and you can open up different views here, so you can see a 3D view. Okay, let's show this in both plan and in 3D. And once you're in here, you can also get in and start to work with other things like wall loading. So it's very simple in the system. Select an element, right click, and the features associated that will be presented to you. So for this beam, I want to add some brick wall loading to this. Okay, I could come and choose a brick wall setup, and you can create libraries of different brick walls here, and the values for the height of this can be keyed in. You can also come in and edit things like opening. So if you were wanting to be very accurate, and maybe you wanted to be very exact in terms of loading, you can come in and add in things like windows and doors and the like if you want to be a bit more accurate with how the loading's given treatment for that wall. And you can see that that's then been created in the model. Now, it's easy just to copy this, so you can copy, and you can use Control-C to do this if you really want to do it quickly. And if I just hit Control, I can select other elements quickly around the model. So I could select these perimeter members here. Okay, you can see I'm just running around and selecting a few. Sorry, let me get that beam. Maybe they're on there. Okay, and if I right click, okay, I can then paste the copy load. So Control-V, Control-C, so it's just a Windows command, and then you can paste those around. And you can also copy those openings as well if you want to, and you'll see that it's just going to replicate those that around the edge of the building. Okay. Now you can copy the wall loading again. And you also have the ability to be very exact with how brick wall loading or wall loading can be applied to members. So here you can see I'm just placing that wall partially along this member. Again, I could do the same thing. Maybe I'd like to have the wall loading just go down this member just to a certain position. Okay, I can be as exact as I like to in the way that these loads can be set up in the model. Okay, and of course I can come and change and edit other wall loads and add them in. Maybe this is a different type of brick wall. Okay, again, these can be manipulated, and you can just adapt the model to suit. Okay, so very quickly you can come and assign different types of loading, and you can be as exact and as accurate as you wish with this. Now at this point, I'm going to just come in and insert some stories. So let's insert. Say I'm just going to make this a short model. Let's make it 4 stories high. Okay, and then I can take this floor here, and we can generate information upwards. So you can copy and replicate this information up the building, and you can choose what's copied up there. So if you don't want to copy everything up, maybe you want to omit the beams for some reason, you've got a new beam layout, you could do that. It's up to you. Okay, so quickly I'll come and define those elements up the building. You can work with this. So if I select that floor, okay, maybe at this point, sorry, let me do that again. Let's just come and select that floor. Oops, I'll do that in plan. Okay, so I can come in and, in fact, I'd like to do it in plan. Let me do this. I'm just going to save this because I've GoToMeetings slowing down my system a little bit. So here, if I just select this area, okay, and I can then come and edit. So if I would like to remove, say, the beams, maybe I don't want beams at that floor level, then I've just adapted that and I've taken that out, and we've now created a flat slab. So it's very simple and easy to work with. You can then adapt this model further, and that I could just cover off those lift cores if that's what I wanted to do. Okay, so you can see there that I've just quickly changed that from a beam slab system to a flat slab system. Let's go up a bit further and move into the roof area. So there's a few other things that I'd like to show some of the users here that they'll find useful. When I move through Muth area, if I go back to the modeling here, I'm going to just work with some steel elements now. So let's come and choose maybe a column to work with. Okay, I can come and choose different sizes here from different databases. Maybe select something like a UC. Okay, and then we can come and place columns in the model. So you can do that in 3D. So visually here, you can see I'm just placing a few columns across the building there. You can also come and work with things like beams. Okay, so if I wanted to place a beam across to the center there, I can come and do that. And these beams can be edited. So if I simply wanted to, one end of this beam, I wanted to raise the height 1,000 millimeters, then I can just update that. Okay, and then I could update, and then I could take the properties of that, and I can replicate that here as well. So quickly I could just come and create those two members. Okay, the same thing over here. I could come in and manipulate, and we could come and create other members here. Now these here, I just need to flick it around. So I'm going to make that 1,000, and let's make this 0. The update there, you can see that that's been updated. Okay, and again, I can take the properties of that, and we can then just apply that here. Now, the reason why I'm doing this is I just wanted to show you a couple of new features that we've got in here with the way of modeling. Now, normally, traditionally, if you put a column in, maybe you wanted to add an extra column and maybe at the mid height here. So I could come and grab the properties of that column, okay, and we may wish to come and place that column directly under here. But you can see there that that's no longer extended up to the top of the column, top of the apex there. So there's a new command here to extend column to member, and you can choose these members, and you can see that that's just automatically extended up. And that can be anywhere. So it could be, again, I could take the properties of this column, okay, and we could apply another at another location, maybe it's here. And again, I just like to extend that up to meet the column. So it's just another way that you can quickly adapt the model to suit how you would like to lay out that type of information. Now, we've also introduced with recent releases a new frame member. And the frame member allows us to create elements wherever we like. And you can, it's primarily at this point set up for steel modeling, but allows you the flexibility to be able to set out and create any type of steelwork model that you wish. So in here, I can come in and place in this case here, I'm going to place a purlin, and we can come and choose to position a purlin in the model. So I can use snap points, and we can place that however we like. Now I can play with the purlin. We can choose what height that is. So you can just see I've just had that sitting on top there, but it's not really orientated the way in which I'd like it to be. So maybe the way to show that is that it's not, I want that to actually not, I want that to be sitting flat on that beam. So traditionally that would be a bit of a challenge, and you'd have to manipulate it. You can now just come and set that to set the angle there, and you can see that I've now adjusted that so that just sits directly flat on that section. Okay, so that's just a couple of handy little modeling tips that you can use to help you create these elements very quickly. And I could then take that purlin, okay, and then I could work to place that elsewhere in the model. It will remember those properties, and that set out would be retained. So I could just continue to model and adapt that to suit, and I could lay out more purlins along the members there. Okay, so I'm just going to at this point just remove that because there's other things I'd like to show you. So you can just quickly come and select elements, and then just yeah, I'm just hitting Control as I go, and then I can delete those. Okay, and then they're gone. Okay, so now the next things that we've been helping with modeling is trusses, and in the trusses you can work in a number of different ways. So to insert trusses, you can just click between two columns, and it will open up and create or draw you into a contextual library. So these contextual modeling libraries are quite dynamic. And in here, you can choose from different types of truss systems that you want to use. Okay, and you can see a preview of the type of truss here. Now these can be manipulated. So if you wish to have, for example, not a straight, but maybe a vertically curved truss, or it could even be a horizontally curved truss, then you can come in and manipulate this to suit. Okay, so these are all adaptive. And you can also add in things like, and you can play with how the radius of that curvature, for example, can be updated. You can also add in things like cantilever length. So if you've got a cantilever protruding from one end, again, you can just preview that there and you can see what this truss might look like before you actually go and create it. So you've got this library of trusses that you can work with here. The other way that you can work with, and I'll see if I can do this, is you can bring in drawings. So I've got I just need to see if I can find it. About and my desktop models. Oops, not that one. Sorry, I've got to come right out. There we go. Now what I'm doing here is that you can come and load up a DXF file. So you can bring in a drawing file, and it could be anything that you've sketched up in AutoCAD, okay, or your CAD platform. You could have even done it in Prota Details, and you can just sketch up whatever set out geometry that you like, and you can then use these to bring them in. So you can choose points, the reference points, to import these, and then you can import that. So you can see that the truss is then set up in here. Now once you have it in here, you can set items to be top chord and bottom chord, and you can also come and manipulate the members here for that. Okay, so this then can be used within the model. You can use this just to import and set up and create your trusses within the building. Now the other option that you have with working with trusses, and I'll just do this again, is that you can work in and pull in trusses. You can come in and work with pre-designated libraries here. Okay, I can work with this to a certain level. Maybe I want to increase the number of bays. The other way I could work with this is actually use user-defined trusses. And in user-defined trusses, we can work to include and add different elements in here. So say I wanted to put a jackknife roof in here. I could key in some additional coordinates that I wish to work with. Okay, these can be easily set up in here. Okay, and you can see that it's created those additional coordinates here. Okay, and then I can work with this. So I might want to add an additional vertical here. Okay, and maybe I've got another one across here. I want to create my top chord, but before I do that, I'd actually like to add an extension point. So I want my jack roof to extend beyond the eaves there 500 millimeters. I can create that node here, and again I could come and create this node here, and we could extend that beyond the roofs as well. And then if I wish to at this point, I can then start to lay out that top chord member, and that can be defined in the model here. So it could be something like this that we want to work with. And again, we can manipulate the members. You can see a preview of it here. Okay, this can be saved away, or if you hit OK, then that can then be placed within the model. Okay, so there's different ways that you can work with trusses in here. It's very, very flexible to suit the way in which you want to set up a model. Now, the other way that you can work, depending on the information that you have, is if you do have a DXF import, maybe you've got a 3D space frame, or you've got a very unusual roof, you can make use of the DXF or the IFC import to import that geometry, and that could also be set up and assigned to the roof as well. Okay, so there's different ways in which that can be done. Now the other part of this contextual modeling, and sorry, I've gone and deleted trusses there, but I'm just going to come and place another truss in here. Let's just get this done. Is that what I want to also talk to you about is contextual modeling, and in here within the modeling we have the ability to be able to work with contextual elements. So once I've got the trusses in, they become available for me to manipulate and use elsewhere. I can come and easily do that. I can then come and add other elements in here. So if I wanted to include, for example, a beam, so you can come and choose a section that you might want to start with. The section properties can be manipulated here. So if you want to pin each end of the member, you can do that there. And then you can just work with that and create those elements. So you can see here, I'm just placing those, okay? And I'll quickly come in and do that. I can tie the top frames together as well, if I want to. Okay, and they're done. Let me just do that one more time. Okay, whoops, didn't quite pick that up. No, maybe I don't. Okay, so there's different ways that can be set up. Maybe I want to brace in this bay and I want to have that there. Okay, so other things that we've done with contextual modeling is that you can see that we're creating the elements based around what they are. So if I would like to insert braces, I don't have to key in coordinates and nodes. I just need to choose 2 elements, and the software will propose to me a bracing solution. Now, of course, I can manipulate this. So if we wanted to change this so that it's a tubular section, okay, or a steel rod, steel rods are available here now. You can come in and choose whatever the properties are, and then this will adapt. Okay, now these are adaptable, so I can move braces around. I can reposition them to suit. You can see that I've moved this away. Maybe I have some services that this might be clashing with, and I just need to take the position of that. I can do that. I can also change the alignment. So the alignment of the model can be aligned to the analytical model. Okay, so that's now aligned to the analysis model, or I can have it center line with the column and beam there, that joint, that node. So these things you can manipulate here and here easily, just to create exactly what you want. The braces can be pulled in and out to align and position them exactly how you'd like to see them, and then you hit OK, and then that's created. Okay, and these are remembered. So when I come to my next bracing consideration, it's remembered what I used previously, and that can be repeated. Now, if you're bracing things like trusses, you may have bracing situations where you want to brace both, not just the top chord, but the bottom chord as well. So it's very flexible, and it understands that there are different considerations that may be present, and you can come in and create these in here. So I can come in and manipulate these. So you can see now I've changed the top chord there, so I have 2 sets of braces on each side of the apex. We could also reduce this. So let's just remove the braces on the bottom chord, okay? And you can see now that, that these are now placed. And the beauty of this is that it's previewing to you exactly what you're going to create at the end of the day. So I can see here that I've put these in, okay? And they've created those, and then they're now set up in the model, okay? So very easy to set that up, and you can see how that's been done. So very quickly, we've come and braced that out. Now, for things like purlins, you can just choose 2 chords of the truss, and it will propose to you a purlin arrangement, okay? And you can see purlins in here. What you can also maybe make out is that there's also sag rods in here. So if you want to be very efficient with design, we can automatically lay out the sag rods in here. You can control the purlins and the type of purlins that you use. You may be using cold form sections, or maybe you've got slightly larger sections that you wish to use. So you can just manipulate this to suit the model, and this preview will adapt. Okay, and now if you're happy with this, you can then hit OK, and you can see that the purlins are now set up together with the sag rods and the roof there. So they've all just been set up there in one go. Now, it just doesn't stop there. You can also, in the modeling here, come in and set up your girts. So again, you can just click and choose to put your girts in. You can play with the spacing here. So you might be using, say, maybe it's 600 spacing. It will preview to you the way that they're set out. You can manipulate this, so you can have whatever spacing that you like. This This can be adapted to suit, okay, and then you can just lay those in. Okay, so that's done. Okay, and these are then laid out. So let's just come in and choose this other bay here, and that's done. Okay. Now earlier you saw me working with those wind posts, and I may have a similar situation in here where I also want to provide some wind posts. Okay, and I may have a sort of a smaller section here that I wish to use. Perhaps I want to use a UB. It might be more efficient. Okay, and we can come and just choose an appropriate section here. Okay, and I can then place that in the model where I'd like that to be. Now, there's two things at this point that you might notice. The first thing is that this is clashing with the truss above, and also the orientation of this is not really where I want it to be. So again, I can just use tools in here to manipulate things to make it easy. So I'm just going to adapt the column, and I've just used the rotate command just to rotate that into position. And similarly, before, you remember that I selected the member, okay? And if I right click on this, sorry, let me just do that one more time. I can just come in and we can extend to member to column. So if I click the bottom quarter of that, you can see that that's just automatically cut that back. So now it's just extended through to the top quarter of that truss, and we can then place that there. So we've just a nice, neat way of just being able to pick that up and quickly trim that steel out. Okay. So again, I might just want to place that there, and again, it's remembered what we had done earlier, and that's been set up there. So I may also, at this point, just wish to take the girts, and we just finish off this side, okay, and I can just frame the girts out across this bay, okay, and you can see there it's previewing that, and again, we can manipulate the height of the girts and just adapt this to suit, okay, and then we can finish that off. And I could use the free member modeling command just to continue to tidy that up. So there's some really nice tools that we've been introducing in here as part of this contextual modeling, just to make your life very easy, make it very simple to create quickly different types of models. Okay. Now let's get into the analysis and design. Okay. And before I do that, I'm going to just come in and set up my loading. Now, load generators have been modified in accordance with code updates. So if you're using Eurocode or the American code, you'll notice that you also have options now to define roof live loads, snow loading, as well as rain loads where they may be applicable. I won't use those because it does generate a large number of load combinations, but they are automated. If you've got different live loading for the roof, then this will be given different treatment within the load combinations that are generated. Now, I'm also going to run my seismic loading here, and I can choose seismic loading permutations, and I can set up some basic wind load cases here. So if I hit OK, you see it's going to come and generate out some load cases there. There's quite a lot of load cases. I might just, you can cut back on these. We're covering all the different permutations, so if you decide that you don't want to run all of these, you can remove load cases. So these can all be adapted, and all the load factors can also be manipulated to suit. Okay, so this is up to you, and all these factors in here will follow the code. You can of course manipulate these if you wish. So load cases are generated. Now, before I get into moving into the analysis and design, just one quick handy thing with the modeling now is that we have this cladding system. And if you choose the cladding, okay, and I just choose that roof here, this is now set up as a cladding plane. And what I can then do is assign pressure loads to this. So I've just gone and set up my load cases, and you can see different load cases, dead, live, wind loading, and so on are populated here. I can then use these to help me define pressure loads against that cladding surface. So I can add a load here. In this case, I might make it negative, maybe a dead load of negative 25 kilograms per square meter, or 0.25 kilonewtons per square meter. It can be set here. and we can then take that and assign that to that roof. So that's just been assigned as a pressure load across that roof. Okay, now I can do it locally to different panels. Okay, I can manipulate the loading. It's very easy to do, and you can see each panel here is highlighted that you can come and assign different loads to different parts of the roof. So this is very flexible, and the one that is under consideration will be highlighted to you here. Okay, I could do the same thing for the live load. Again, I could do the same thing for wind. So you can just add loads here. Maybe it's maybe the live loading's maybe it's negative 50 kilograms per square meter. So let's just come and add that, and then we're done. Okay, so you can see again that's been applied across that surface. Okay, and I can continue to assign other load types to that. Now that can also be applied to the cladding loads here. So those girts and so on, they can also be set up to have those pressure loads applied to them. So that's just another way in which loads can be quickly established within the model. Now let's move into the design. I want to get on with this and just start to analyze and design the structure. So move into the building analysis. We've set up our project parameters here, and you can see different codes of practices we're using. I'm using the TIE standard, which is a combination of the American codes for concrete and steel design. The loading code is still the ASCE 07, year 2010, but they have their own versions of the wind and earthquake code. And we can then come in and choose to work with that. So in here, I can choose the DP 130261 standard. There's the equivalent IBC and UBC standards as well, which these are based off. You can then come and choose whether you want to run a response spectrum. Maybe I'm doing a building inside of Bangkok, and again you can choose it's a greater Bangkok area, and you can see you can even choose different districts within that. So it will then, the curves will then adapt to suit. Okay, and down here you can come and choose the type of frame system that you're going to use. So I'm going to use a special moment resisting frame that will then look at special ductile detailing requirements. You could use obviously an ordinary frame or intermediate frame, and they'll be designed and detailed accordingly. Okay, so you can then just step your way through. You can look at things in different directions. For the frame system, I'm going to choose the number of modes I want to run, and we can check for irregularities in here as well. Now, wind loading within the system is also automated to a number of different codes, and we've continued to enhance this. So there's been improvements in the wind loading in this update. You can choose and key in the basic wind speed, and you'll set up different exposure categories here. So if I was in Bangkok, it would be lots of tall buildings, okay, and we can just choose the regions that may be in and what type of importance the building is. And then the loading will then automatically be set up, and the pressures will automatically be assigned to the model. And that's the wind loading done for that structure. We can then move in and we then set this wind loading up, and then that can become part of the analysis. Now, I'm going to just establish the model here. I could use rigid zones if I wished. Okay, I'm going to mesh my walls, and I'm going to selectively choose to mesh that third floor where I have a flat slab within the building model. Okay, now the analysis is one button. Before I do that, I am just going to come to the stories, and I'm going to choose to ignore the top roof in terms of my calculations for looking at irregularities. That roof at the top there is quite flexible, and it will not quite different from the concrete structure below. So for seismic checks, that may be quite different. So you can manipulate that in here. Now you can also come and name things. So if I want to call the ground floor ground, for example, maybe the roof, I want to call it roof. You can just set this up to suit the architectural classifications, and that's then set away. And then I can move into looking at the analysis. So all the things that we established before are here, and I can now just come in and run this. So let's just run the analysis and design. I'm just going to run through this quickly and hit go. Now, while I'm doing that, I'm just going to see if there's anybody's asked me any questions. And I will try to answer them. No, you've been a bit quiet. If you do have questions, feel free to answer them as we go. I'll try and get to some of the questions at the end. Okay. Now you can see it's just running through and it's performing the analysis. This is a dedicated platform. We've been streamlining the analysis processes. So for those of you who used the 2019 version of ProtaStructure, you'll find that this version is about 50% faster across all those aspects. We've refined and improved the speed of both the analysis engine as well as the column and beam, wall, and member design. So you can see across the board it's a lot quicker. Okay, and that's just running through now and designing all the elements within the structure there. So let's give it a second. It's done the columns, walls, and beams there, and then we'll move in and also look at the steel work. Okay, so just okay, so it's done. Okay, so that took just over a minute, and you can see there's a summary report. So the summary report will just give us some insight into any irregularities or any issues that we've come across during the analysis. So this has met the mass participation ratios for Seismic. It's telling me there is a little bit of torsional irregularity in that building, so it does exist, and that those irregularities will mean that the analysis will iterate to take into account that. There's no major stiffness irregularities, and the overturning checks also satisfy the code. So there's checks that we're doing as we're performing this to make sure that we satisfy the code. Now, if I just close this, and I'm just going to reset the views, you'll see that the analysis has now been performed, and post-analysis here you can look at the results. Now, this is very fast and very adaptive. We've made this so that it's very intuitive and you can quickly get around and interrogate the results. Now, you can see here that the core walls are merged, so you can see the merged results for core walls. If you're interested in looking at, say, moment diagrams, you can see moment diagrams. You also have the choice of turning off. So if, for example, the moments in the core walls were dominating the effects, you could just turn those shear walls off, and you can then look at the member results in more detail. So this may allow you just to see those more clearly. If you want to just come in and look at a member in more detail, you can. So here I'm just looking at a dead load case, but all the different cases and combinations are listed here, and you can review these. And you can also see the envelope of the behavior there that's being produced. Now, you may want to look at other things. You may be interested in, say, looking at the dead load, and you might be interested in looking at the absolute deflection of that member. Okay, again, I could just adapt these diagrams to suit and look at locally at those effects, or if I wanted to see if there was some torsion in the member, or maybe even if there was some axial load. So again, you can just work with these the results. You can interrogate these analysis results to drill down and really look at the behavior of the model there. Now, globally, you can do things like turn off the labels if you don't want to see that. Maybe you're interested in looking at the displacements. You might be interested to see that what it is under, say, wind, and you may even want to animate that. So you can see instantly this will render, and instantly you could see the behavior under, say, wind loading there, or maybe you'd like to see it under seismic in the X direction, or perhaps in the Y direction. Okay, you can come and manipulate and view those results. If you'd like to see the modal behaviors, they're here. The fundamental mode in the X direction is mode 3 there. As I mentioned, I did have a bit of torsion in the model, so you can see the behavior there, and you can just cycle through the different mode shapes here to see the behaviors. Okay. If you would like to, you can turn the displacements off. If you go back to load cases, I could look at my contours, and you could have a look at the contours in the walls and the slabs there. We have enhanced these so that they are easier to see and interpret. Okay, you can of course turn contours on and off. So if you just wanted to look at the slab, or maybe you want to just look at the shear walls, again, you can just manipulate these to suit. So you can just come and interrogate and look at what you want to see. So we've really come up with a custom view here to really just work with and look at the information that you would like to interrogate. So if I turn the diagrams off there, I could just be looking at the FE contour results here as well, if that's what I'd like to look at. Now there is quite a nifty solid model here, and depending on what you're looking at, you can see the contours in here, and they are just another way that we can represent the information in the model. So that's just another nice way in which the analytical data can be presented here. Now, I've come to this point and we've done analysis and design. If you come and click on, say, the story beams, you'll see that all these members have been designed. You can click on a member. These can be interrogated in more detail. It will automatically optimize the section of the rebars here. You can come in and manipulate this. So if I did want to make that, say, 3/16, I could. Okay, I can Control C, Control V, and I can copy these rebar arrangements to other members. And here I can look at and interrogate the envelopes in here, and I can also just get a quick preview of what this detail is going to look like before it's created. Okay, so that can easily be done here, and I can view the results. Now, if you do, this is live, so if there are changes, and you can see I've gone to 2 D16s there, that's not adequate and it doesn't meet the code, and you can see that live checking that we're doing to assure that the code is satisfied. The minimum steel is not satisfied with that in that scenario, and the spacing also doesn't meet code requirements. So everything we do here is live, and you can adapt things. Now you can manipulate things, you can change things like the size of the member here if you want to. The beams and sizes and so on can also be adapted to suit, and you've got a nice little perspective here. So when you make these changes, this little 3D view can be updated, and those updated changes can be passed back into the 3D model. Now there is an interactive design here, so you can look at it in a little bit more detail about how we've come out with the results. We are continuing to enhance this, okay, and you'll also see more detail in the design reports. So that's just one thing with the design. Obviously, you can also look at things like the columns, okay, and you can see all those have been designed, and even the core wall that we set up earlier. If you, sorry, not that one there, this one here, you can see that the design's been done. Now it's optimized, so we will look at optimizing the reinforcement. If the wall needs ties and so on, they'll be added in. Okay, so there is some intelligence going on in behind in the way that that design's being prepared. Now, one last thing I'm going to do in here before I get to creating drawings and documentation, and I know we're running short on time, is I'm just going to come in and quickly place some foundations. So I can just choose some elements here, maybe that column, that wall as well. And if I right-click, I can come and insert pad footing or a pile cap. So let's choose a pile cap, okay? And I can ask this here to just go away and design all the foundations in the building, okay? And it's just going to go through and optimize the design for me. So they're done, and if I hit OK, you can see that all the pile caps for that structure have then been designed. Now, similarly, if you have, let me just do that again. If I have pad bases, again, that can be, you can quickly come and design your pad footings, and these will be designed in the system. Design all, I think they've been done, and if we hit OK, then you can see the pad footings will then be introduced as well. Okay, now there are other foundation systems in here. I'm not going to get time to cover these today, but there are strip footings, pad footings, you can do piled rafts, all these types of things can be included in the foundation setup, depending on the nature of the building that you're designing. Okay, so here I'm just putting in a raft foundation and setting that up, and I could run finite element analysis to design that. And I can cut strips through that. We can do our punching shear checks, and we can design the raft. Now, at this point, I'm just going to get straight into looking at the documentation. So I've finished my design. I now want to document things, and we can now seamlessly move this into Prota details. Now, before I do that, if I do just want to quickly see manipulate things in here, I can just ask it to draw and preview some basic detail results. So within ProtaStructure, we can preview things before we actually get to document things properly into our drawing. So there's a nice preview tools here under the drawing reports, and you can look at different aspects of here. So here I've just looked at the first story beams, and I can see what the beam details are going to look like in a preview mode before we actually get into the comprehensive detailing. But to detail them, I've opened up Prota Details. Sorry, I just need to close this again. Sorry, I need to load this again. So I'm just going to open up Prota Details. Okay, so let's just reload Prota Details. Sorry, I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. So I'm just going to show you a couple more things here, and then I think we'll be done. Today, I've tried to kind of keep it interesting, give it a bit of a mixture of both what's new, as well as for those who have never seen ProtaStructure before, give you some understanding of how the seamless system works. So I'm just going to create my drawings here. Remember that you can insert these into your title block. So you can load your title blocks into here. You can give these names, okay, and you can manipulate things like scales here. Now you can play with how things like beams are detailed out. All the foundations, right from the roof down to the foundations, can be drawn, and then we can just ask it to draw. So Prota Details is now going to go away and prepare everything into our drawing sheets, okay, and they can just be organized seamlessly into our title blocks. And you can see that the plans there are starting to be generated. You can look at the foundation drawings there, okay, and if I just hit go, and you can see that that's done. And you might, if I just come out, you can see that all the drawings there have been created in one seamless run. So if I come in, I can see my key plans here. You can see that merged core wall. Okay, you can also look at you can also look at set out plans, so you can see set out against grid. Okay, and you can see new core wall detailing there, so you can see how those end zones have been properly detailed there with all the links, okay, as well as the elevations of the columns. You'll notice that in this scenario here, all the ductile detailing has been employed for the columns, as well as the walls to comply with seismic code requirements. And further, as we go down further, you can see here all the foundations and the like. So they're all have been beams and so on have been created. And you also have full quantities takeoff here, so you can see for a given bar mark, a given bar size here, so 3D 16s at positional mark 8, for example. Come to the table here, you can see there's 3 of those. They're 2,400 long, 7.2 meters long, and here's the bar bending schedule. And you can see for this drawing, there's about 1,993 kilograms of steel. So all this is dedicated fabrication information that you can use to help you with construction erection, or maybe comparing different schemes within the system. So all of that's available in here, and you are in the Prota Details environment. So once you've got things in here, you can manipulate things. If you do want to come in and manipulate details, you can. If I want to move information around, I'm in a CAD environment, I can. If I want to do things like cut sections, I can do that as well. So this is a CAD system, and you can happily draw in here, draft in here. You can add extra details. All this can be done in the CAD environment. We even have things like rebar in here, so you can take advantage of rebar for creating other details very quickly. So all of this is part of the Prota Details system, and it's not just a drawing management tool. It also allows you to do your drafting, manipulate your details, produce the information that you want. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to touch on today in the last few minutes is Prota Steel. So we've designed our, we've created our drawings, and we've done our design, created our concrete drawings. I'm now wanting to move in and look at the steel work. Okay, and I'm going to just get straight into Prota Details on steel. I'm not going to muck around. I'm going to use IntelliConnect, and I'm just going to come and create my details very rapidly. So let's use IntelliConnect. I'm going to run my purlin connection design. I can choose a preference here, okay, and if I just hit run, what ProtaSteel is doing is designing all these connections automatically. So if you can see here, it's just come in and designed our steelwork connections here. Our purlin connections have been designed. Okay, if I come out again, I can go back to using IntelliConnect again, and I'm going to design our girt connections. Let's design our brackets and then just run it, and it's going to go through and assign all those connections to our girt connections to the model. I can also leave it to design the trusses, but I'll just design the end bay here, and you can see how that works. So again, I'm going to use IntelliConnect. IntelliConnect is our system for automating steelwork connection design instantly. It's intelligent. It uses construction intelligence to create constructible information very rapidly. And you can see here, just within a matter of seconds, we've designed those connections here within the model. Okay. Now you can, within ProtaSteel, manipulate and apply your own connections. So there's macros here that you can use to design connections quickly. So I can just choose different elements and provide connections in here. Underneath this, we do send the information to where we are designing these connections. So the analytical information is being sent across, and we are creating all the reports here for the connection design. And you can see connection design to a range of different codes being produced in a lot of detail here. So all the relevant code calls referencing, all the formulas are being created here, and you can see all that's really neatly and nicely documented here, together with the other design information. Now these are macros, so just so you're aware that these can be manipulated. You can control and manipulate the connections to suit. So if I want to drop a connection detail, for example, okay, I can do that. I can just come and adapt it to suit. So those bolts were protruding a little bit upwards, and I'll just come in and drop those down. Now, once we've got connections and we would like to then detail out, we can choose joints, and we can easily come and set up views of these joints to satisfy what we'd like to detail. So I'm going to choose the objects that I'd like to include in that joint, and if I right click, we create a box around the joint. Now you can select and create different views of this connection. So you might be wanting to look at this angle, maybe you want to look from the side, or maybe you want to look not from down up, but maybe you want to look from this angle. So you can choose those views. You can also add a 3D view here, and you can come and select and create any other kind of connection details that you like in here. So where you want to create a connection, to select the joint and you can add them. So I may want to also at this point detail the purlin connection. I can add that as well. Let's just choose some objects here to create those, and they're done. Okay, we can choose the views again that we'd like to see. Maybe I just want to see an end-on view, or maybe I'd like to look at a view from, let's have a look here, maybe from that end. Okay, so again, you can just set these views up. You can add a 3D view, and then once you've got these views, you can then slice and dice the model how you like to produce the drawings that you want. So any of these views, you can create views through them. I'm just going to create an elevation by selecting 2 points. So I'm just going to create an elevation through this frame here. You can see the elevation there. It's actually all the way up the building, so it includes all the concrete work as well. And I can then come and set this into my drawing. So I'm going to just come to a drawing manager. Let's create a drawing. We can call this truss elevation, for example, and hit OK. Now those elevations are, those views are populated into the tree here, and I can then just bring that view into the drawing sheet, and you can see that that view has been presented here. Once you've got these views in, you can manipulate things in here to suit. So if you wanted to start to dimension maybe the purlin spacings out, for example, you wanted to do some quick dimensioning here, okay, you could then use these to help you start to set that out. But what you'll notice here is you've got these connection boxes, and if you just hit the connection details, we will then go away and detail these out. And you can see here that that detail I created for the purlin is being set up here. You can look at different views here. If you get your cut not quite right, you can play with these views. So these can be extended. Okay, you can manipulate what you want to see on here. Now you can also come and select this, and you can apply other annotations. So I might want to annotate the bolts in there as well. I want to position those. Okay, I could, if I wanted to, add some additional dimensions. So again, these can all be done within here, and you can choose where and how you dimension things. Okay, maybe I'll put that there. I'll just look there. Okay, and then it's even avoided clashing with the text there. Okay, so all these types of things you can do in here just to detail out the connections and to suit the way that you want things to look. Okay, so now you also be able to see the 3D views here. You can see the various 3D views to better represent those connections that we've created. Here's views of that other connection that we set up just now as well. So you can see they look great. Okay, they're all physical models. They are exactly how this is represented in 3D. Now the other interesting thing here that you'll see is that this purlin connection 1 has been set up here, but we've intuitively found where there are other purlin connection 1s also. So we've enhanced the grouping in this release so that it knows intuitively what other joints are the same. So this PC1 here, PC1 here, and if you look on the other side of the truss there, you can see there's 2 further connections which are the same there, which it's been able to identify. So all of this is nicely grouped for you. We understand what's similar. They can be instantly created here as well. Now, the last item I'd like to touch on with ProtaSteel is that not only do you get the engineering drawings like I've shown you, but you can also come and select and create the assembly drawing. So I can select maybe this frame here, and I'll just let me make sure I just get that frame right. Okay, because I'm just okay. And what I can do is I'm just going to ask it to perform the numbering. Okay, so I've numbered this. Okay, and then if I just right click in here, I can then just ask it to prepare other types of drawings. So I'm going to create the assembly drawing for this frame, and it's now going away and it's going to build the assembly for that truss and those associated elements. So you can choose to create any assemblies you like. It could be the entire assembly in one go, or you can just create part assemblies of the model. But the software will allow you to then create this and then build this. So it's done, and you can see that the drawings have been created, and then it will then go away and build the drawings for you. And in here you can see that the assembly is all set up here, the bolt holes, the welds, everything is being detailed out here. Now, I don't know about you, but when I was a young engineer, I was having to draw all this up by hand and get a draftsman to help me in the process. So all of this type of thing is just being highly automated now, and all these details are really fantastic. You can get right down to very, very detailed drawing information there that's being set up for you. All the plates are broken out, and you can see how that they would be pulled together for fabrication. Okay. Now you also have here material lists. Okay, and you can see the total tonnages there. The other way that you can review material lists is if you come into here, and if you right click on this, or actually if I come to the modeling, drawings tabs, the material lists here. So you can actually produce a material takeoff. It will go away and build that in Excel. Okay, and you can see there's various material quantities being generated here. So there's a profile list here. You can see these in Excel. Okay, you could put costing against these if you wanted to, and then you could cost these all out. So these are highly accurate, and you can use these to help you with quantifying and costing out your projects. So I've covered a lot of ground, and I think that's enough for today. I hope that you've enjoyed what I've covered. I've covered something new for some of our existing users, and also I hope for some of our people who are new to the software, I hope you've also got something out of the software. I guess the keys with what we're trying to achieve as a business is to be able to create constructible information and going right from modeling through to the analysis, to the design, to the detailing, to the fabrication and BIM, all in a seamless way, all really dedicated for performing building design. So I guess one way of putting it is that you wouldn't turn up at an F1 circuit in a four-wheel drive car, and you wouldn't turn up to a four-wheel drive circuit in a Ferrari. So what we've tried to do is create dedicated tools that are dedicated for building design that allow you to produce buildings very rapidly, very efficiently within ProtaStructure, and being able to go end to end without having to buy a multitude of different types of platforms, being able to integrate this into one seamless solution. So integrating all those processes that we've covered today. So that's the ProtaStructure 2021. I've covered the new update. I hope you've enjoyed that. Just to let you know, there are people on the call that are interested in the platform. We do have some special pricing, and these are for 1-year subscription licenses, and we are offering a discount. So if you are interested in getting up and running with the software, maybe you don't want to acquire the full system right away, but you're interested in a subscription, we're offering 25% off until the end of February. You're welcome to take advantage of that. And this includes all updates and ongoing professional support from our teams around the world. And it also gives you full access to e-learning and Knowledge Hub access. We are also offering training courses online for those of you who like more of a traditional classroom style training where you can still ask questions. So if you've got any questions, please, and you're interested in that, please reach out. So there's global sales at protasoftware.com. In Asia Pacific, you can contact Asia Sales at protasoftware.com, and you can also get to us through our website. So keep abreast of the website. There are lots of things that we post there, new webinars, updates, knowledge, resource materials, but you can also reach us through the website, so at www.protasoftware.com. And if you're not, please feel free to follow us on our social media channels. So we're across the board, so whether it's LinkedIn or Facebook or Twitter is your choice, then we're available through that. So that's what I was going to cover today. I'm just going to have a look and see if there's any questions, and you'll just have to forgive me because I have to undock it, and I'll just see if I can get to answer some questions before I sign off. Okay, can the model be exported as IFC format for Open BIM? Yes, it can. Yes, we have intelligent IFC files. It's a 3x2 IFC data file, which you can send out, and we'll put it into the IFC formats. Okay, can an arch triangular space steel roof trusses? You could do this, and probably the way that we would do it is by importing through a DXF import. So if you'd set up the data inside of, say, AutoCAD in a 3D model, or maybe you've done it in Revit, or perhaps you've done it in IFCs, then you could potentially bring that model into ProtaStructure. Can you model a curved rafter in Prota? Well, look, rafters are made up of, even a curve is made up of a series of segments. So it's how refined you want to be with that. So the answer is yes, you could do that. And I think you might have seen that I did create a curved truss. Okay, you could use that as a starting point. You could even put the curved truss in and delete the other elements off the top chord to have your rafter if that's what you want to have. Do you have kind of master and slave nodes? That's more of an analytical consideration. Okay, we do set up the way in which the model will interact, and the analytical data is built automatically. You can manipulate things like fixities. The new free member modeling, you have control over in releases, axial releases, moment, shear releases, all the kind of things that you would probably want to do with creating any model. Okay, so let's just see. I'm just running through some of the questions. Someone's asked if Prota 21 is 32-bit or 64-bit. The ProtaStructure system is 64-bit. We don't need to run ProtaSteel in 32-bit and 64-bit at present because it's not intensive in terms of memory. So that's a hybrid, but the rest of the system is 64-bit. Okay, and that's why we've been able to take advantage of much faster analysis, parallel processing with design routines. That type of thing has been set up with the 2021 build, and our users would have been benefiting from that in terms of speed. Is IntelliConnect available for BS 5950? Yes, it is. Yes, you can use IntelliConnect for the British standards, Eurocodes, American standards. We are looking at adding other standards in here as well. Is ProtaStructure capable of conducting performance-based design? Yes, it is. We do have quite comprehensive performance-based design within ProtaStructure. I have not touched on it today. It's quite a detailed topic, as you can imagine. But we do have significant experience in this area. In fact, Prota Consulting Group is probably one of the world's leading experts in carrying out seismic performance-based design. So a lot of that experience that we've had in consulting has been introduced into the software. And probably one of the advantages that we have is that we do the pre and post processing automatically for you. So we're creating a lot of the data is being post processed for you, which if you were using something like Perform 3D, you would have to do that manually. So this is something that we've done a lot of work on. Are the details in 2D connected to the 3D? If you change the 2D, is it transmitted back to 3D? Well, in a way, yes, it is. It's a 3D model, and we generate everything from that 3D model. So if you manipulate the model in 3D, the 2D drawings will update. So for example, if I changed any of the 3D elements within ProtaSteel, the details will automatically update. If I change the model inside of ProtaStructure, I send it back to ProtaSteel, it will automatically update the drawings, okay? So it's very interactive. We don't so much work from 2D back to 3D. I mean, that's something that, you know, it's a possibility, but generally speaking, we will manipulate the 3D model, and then that will then drive changes downstream into the 2D drawings. Can I use the software to design multi-story steel buildings? Well, I think you can. I think you can use ProtaStructure to design a broad range of different types of concrete and steelwork buildings. With multi-story building design, you may need to think about considerations such as your bracing systems. You may be looking at maybe you need to perform things like sway and second order analysis. You may even need to consider things like stage construction. So these are a lot of the things that we would deal with within ProtaStructure as part of the capabilities that we have for building design. Someone's asked me if ProtaStructure can perform analysis in the BIM format. Well, ProtaStructure is a BIM platform, and there's no one software which is BIM. BIM is really about building information modeling and being able to share and communicate data. And that data can be prepared in different ways. So you've seen me work with a physical model, and attached to that physical model is an intelligent analysis and design model, and all of our documentation. So our design documentation, both in terms of drawings as well as calculations, as well as all the quantities takeoff, as well as even the fabrication data. So everything's part of that one intelligent structural BIM model. And I can share that data with other platforms. So if I wanted to share my model with maybe the architect, maybe he's using Revit, I can pass that directly into Revit, and we can coordinate our projects. So there's different ways that you can interact with the software, and there's different ways that you can interact with different teams. So we have IFC links, we have very intelligent links with Revit, we have intelligent DXF links. We're even working on, we've even got some other nice integrations that we're working on at the moment that we'll be able to take advantage of very soon with other links that we have in mind. Is it possible to group detailings per story? Yes, it is. You can group beams per story. Okay, and there is also some enhancements in the 21.1 build in terms of how details can be produced floor by floor. Someone's asked me if we can do construction stages analysis in Prota. Yes, we can. There is stage construction analysis approaches in the software. Someone's asked me if ProtaStructure can be as flexible as Revit software. Well, I think our platform is pretty flexible, but our platform is dedicated for structural engineers and structural, I guess, technicians. So we're really focused around the structural side of producing information, and we're creating intelligent design information. So this is something that Revit doesn't do and doesn't have a comprehensive understanding of. So it's not an intelligent design system, which is where Prota fills this void. So it's providing a very intelligent way of designing buildings quickly and efficiently, and that's our strength, and that's where we can help structural engineers produce information very quickly. Of course, we can integrate with Revit, and you can take advantage of being able to model other types of things within Revit. So if you wanted to include the architecture and the MEP and so on within that environment, then you can. Okay, so I think I've sort of got to a number of questions. I hope you've enjoyed that. Thank you very much for today. It's been a real pleasure. If you do have any other questions, you can continue to type them in the chat, and I will try to get back to you with some answers on those. Thank you again for attending today, and please stay tuned. There's a lot of really exciting stuff coming this year with developments. Really an exciting year for us, and it just doesn't stop here. There's a lot of really fantastic new development that we're going to be introducing in the future. And if you are interested in becoming a user and you want to take advantage of any of those offers, please get in touch. So thank you for today. It's been a real pleasure. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you again soon.